joined now by banking expert Ralph Silva. So, Ralph, what is the significance of putting an investment banker at the helm in charge of Britain's third largest bank?
It's not just an investment banker, it's an American investment banker without any emotional connection to the UK. Very clearly what they've said to the British government is, you break us up, we're moving. Simple as that. HSBC has already said that. We're in the UK right now, we're in a position where if the rules change, we stand to lose the two organizations, the two largest banks on the planet that actually have fulfilled all their obligations. We stand to lose them in one fell swoop.
Right, so then what are the implications in terms of regulation?
Well, in regulation, so the idea is if the government says we must separate investment banking from retail banking, obviously the banks will have to comply, but they will move their investment banking operations offshore and probably sell their retail banking operations to some other organization because they're simply not profitable. Right now, retail banking is not a profitable part of the organization. The truth is that you have to look at the Canadian banks or the Australian banks. The success in those organizations has been the diversified model, and that is exactly what these banks are saying to the government. That's the way to go. That's the future of banking.
And so does that mean that banks like Barclays will indeed focus more on their investment banking unit as opposed to their high street business?
In Barclays' case, they will do that simply because they want to bring it more to a 50-50 split on an ongoing basis. So they need to bring up investment banking slightly more. HSBC is a little different situation. They don't have to do that because they already generate a tremendous amount of investment banking. But generally speaking, they're all trying to get a mix where investment banking and retail banking sort of represent about 50-50 so that they're safe going forward.
And when you speak about the prospect of banks simply moving trading their more riskier operations abroad, I suppose that really highlights the importance of global international coordination when it comes to regulation.
That's right. Very simply, banks are global, regulations are local. And if you want to play with local regulations, then the banks are going to take the opportunities to move to other parts of the world where the regulations are a lot easier. They've done it before, and they'll continue to do it.
You know, we've seen financial shares in decline, fears about their exposure to risky government debt in Europe rearing its ugly head again. We've been talking about this all morning, and earlier I spoke to Wolfgang Gerke, president of the Bavarian Finance Center. He's taking part in that conference about European banks in Frankfurt, and he said, look, we're not going to find any solutions. The debate's going to continue. We should brace ourselves for the next credit crunch.
I completely agree with that. This is not an easy thing. Every country in Europe especially has developed a banking industry in a completely different way. They're all different. The French banking system and the British banking system are diametrically opposed, so you really can't have one set of rules that's going to affect them all. But we do have a battle going on, and the battle is that the governments want smaller organizations and the banks clearly want to be more diversified and bigger. And we're going to see a big battle ensue in the next few months.
And how do you see that battle playing out in Europe versus the U.S.? What are the comparisons?
I think it's not the U.S. that I'm looking at. I'm looking at Asian banks. Oh. They're the ones that can grow. They're the ones that are well diversified and becoming better diversified as time goes by. That's our competitive base, not the U.S. The U.S. is going to contract a bit. They have to. Their economy just isn't strong enough. The banks are simply too small, with the exception of 2 or 3. It's just not the market that we should be looking at.
Okay, Ralph, we'll let you go and get a glass of water.
Thank you.
Ralph Silva, thanks very much.